The year is 2026, and despite constant talk of de-dollarization, one currency still sits on the global throne: the US dollar. It is the invisible oxygen of global trade. Whether it's oil from Saudi Arabia or electronics from Korea, most of it is bought and sold in dollars. But how did a piece of green paper issued by one nation become the world's default currency? The answer lies in a masterclass of geopolitics, military strategy, and psychological trust. To understand the dollar's power, we must look at the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944. As World War II was ending, world leaders met to create a new financial system. Since the U.S. held 2/3 of the world's gold, the dollar was pegged to gold, and every other currency was pegged to the dollar. This made the dollar as good as gold. In 1971, when the gold link was broken, the dollar survived through a brilliant strategic pivot known as the Petrodollar. The U.S. struck a deal with Saudi Arabia. Oil would only be sold in dollars. In exchange, the U.S. provided military protection. Because every industrial nation needs energy, they were suddenly forced to earn and hold massive amounts of dollars. This created a permanent global demand. This system allowed the U.S. to print money and run massive debts without the usual consequences of inflation, an advantage known as exorbitant privilege. But the dollar's strength isn't just about oil, it's about institutional trust. When the world faces a crisis, investors run to U.S. Treasury bonds. Why? Because the U.S. has the most transparent financial markets in the world, backed by a legal system that protects property rights. Investors know the rules won't change overnight. This is the safe haven effect. The dollar is the world's ultimate insurance policy. However, in 2026, the architecture of this dominance is being challenged. We are seeing the rise of sanction weaponization. When the U.S. froze Russia's central bank reserves, it sent a shockwave through the world. Nations began to wonder, if it can happen to them, can it happen to us? This has triggered a movement toward de-dollarization, where countries like China and India are increasingly trading in local currencies. Yet, replacing the dollar is nearly impossible in the short term due to the network effect. Think of the dollar as the English language of finance. Even if you prefer your native tongue, you must speak English to conduct global business. To replace the dollar, a challenger must offer a currency that is transparent, freely tradable, and backed by a massive liquid bond market. Currently, no other nation offers that combination of stability and military reach. We must also consider the military dimension. A global reserve currency is backed by the world's most powerful navy. The U.S. military ensures that the sea lanes remain open for trade. As long as the dollar is the currency of the superpower that protects global commerce, its role is reinforced. The dollar isn't just a currency, it's a pillar of global security. As we reach mid-2026, the dollar's share of global reserves is slowly dipping, but its role in actual trade remains undisputed. We are moving toward a multipolar financial world, but the dollar remains the first among equals. The architecture of the global economy was built around the dollar, and tearing it down would risk destroying the very savings of the nations trying to escape it. The story of the dollar is a story of how a nation converted its luck into a permanent financial empire. For the mature investor, understanding the dollar is the key to understanding who truly holds the levers of power. Stay informed, stay ahead,